Israel declared independence on May 14, 1948. The story, we are told, is that the birth of Israel was the result of a war between the Arabs and the Jews. But that story leaves out the most important protagonist, the one who spent 30 years making sure that when the war came, only one side would be capable of fighting it. A decade before 1948, the Palestinians had been disarmed, their leadership decapitated, and their society broken by the largest British counterinsurgency of the interwar period. Meanwhile, the British armed and trained the Zionists and turned a blind eye to the illegal Zionist arms smuggling. During the First World War, Britain promised the Arabs independence in exchange for revolting against the Ottoman Empire. A British Foreign Office memorandum summarized Palestine's place in those commitments. With regard to Palestine, His Majesty's government are committed by Sir H. McMahon's letter to the Sharif on the 24th of October, 1915, to its inclusion in the boundaries of Arab independence. It was a promise the British never intended to keep. In November 1917, Britain issued the Balfour Declaration, promising to support the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine. 5 years later, the League of Nations mandate placed Palestine under British colonial rule and made the Balfour Declaration part of the British mandate, betraying every promise made to the Arabs. If the principle of self-determination had been applied, the 90% Arab supermajority would simply have rejected Zionist colonization. For Zionist colonization to succeed, the British would need to maintain a colonial chokehold on the people of Palestine and deny them any rights or voice in their future. The Zionist leader Chaim Weizmann argued that a Jewish homeland would provide Britain with a loyal European colony in a strategically vital region. As Ronald Storrs, the first British governor of Jerusalem, would later put it, the colony would form for England a little loyal Jewish Ulster in a sea of potentially hostile Arabism. Britain appointed Herbert Samuel, a prominent Zionist, as the first High Commissioner of Palestine, placing a committed supporter of Zionist colonization in charge of a country whose native population overwhelmingly opposed it. When Palestinian Arabs demanded representative government proportional to their numbers, Britain refused to even discuss it. As Jewish immigration increased and Palestinian political demands continued to be ignored, resistance grew. In 1936, a full-scale armed Palestinian revolt against British rule erupted. In response, tens of thousands of British troops were deployed. The British carried out a scorched earth campaign of atrocities and war crimes. Roughly 10% of Palestine's Arab male population was killed, maimed, imprisoned, or exiled. By the time the revolt was crushed, the Palestinians no longer possessed the political leadership, the military organization, or the weapons required to defend themselves. At the same time, Britain was helping to build the military capacity of the Zionists. British authorities placed arms caches in Jewish settlements. They trained Haganah fighters in the Special Night Squads under Ord Wingate. They organized and armed Jewish auxiliary forces. Officially, they were police units under British command, but in reality, they were a national Zionist militia controlled by the Haganah. Many future Israeli commanders gained their first military experience under British supervision. The Palestinian revolt forced Britain to rethink its Palestine policy. As Colonial Secretary Malcolm MacDonald admitted, the recent hostilities had threatened to become the cause of permanent unrest throughout the Near and Middle East, something Britain could not risk with another European war approaching. Britain responded by issuing the 1939 White Paper. The White Paper promised an independent Palestinian state within 10 years and sharply limited Jewish immigration. For the Zionists, the White Paper was a betrayal. In 1940, the Stern Gang split from the Irgun, rejecting any truce with Britain during the war, and began attacks against the British. In 1944, the Irgun joined the armed resistance. And by October 1945, all the Zionist militias were at war with the British. The Haganah, the Irgun, and the Stern Gang united in an alliance called the Jewish Resistance Movement. Britain's reaction was restrained. No punitive demolitions, no collective punishment, no herding Jewish settlers into barbed wire cages to die of dehydration and exposure. None of the tactics they used against the Palestinians. A frustrated Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery, then chief of the Imperial General Staff, said, "The only way the army could stamp out terrorism was to take the offensive against it. And this was not allowed. We had, in fact, surrendered the initiative to the terrorists." Britain's kid gloves treatment of the Zionists ensured that the Zionist movement entered 1948 with its military, its intelligence, and its organizational capabilities completely intact. The White Paper promised a Palestinian state. Britain's actions ensured it would never happen. Following the UN partition vote on November 29, 1947, the Zionist leadership launched military operations that would culminate in Plan Dalet, the systematic seizure of territory and expulsion of Arabs from the proposed Jewish state and strategic areas beyond it. Most Palestinian villages possessed at best a few local guards. Many had no organized defense at all. An Arab volunteer force, calling itself the Arab Liberation Army, managed to hold Western and Upper Galilee, protecting over 100 villages for roughly 5 months before being routed. Only around Jerusalem did al-Qadir al-Husayni succeed in organizing an effective Palestinian fighting force. King Abdullah of Transjordan blocked the Arab League from providing arms to Husseini's militia. In a letter to the Secretary General of the Arab League, Husseini wrote, "I hold you responsible for leaving my fighters at the height of their victories without weapons or assistance." He returned to the front hopelessly outgunned and was soon killed in action. Following his death, effective organized Palestinian resistance collapsed. The Zionists selected villages that were completely defensive as a first test run. On February 15, 1948, a Palmach unit attacked Caesarea and expelled the entire population of 1,500 people. As the town had no defenses, the expulsion took only a few hours, and the Jewish troops were able to depopulate and destroy another 4 villages on the same day. British troops watched from police stations nearby. Soon after, hundreds of thousands of Palestinian refugees were being driven into neighboring Arab countries, carrying reports of massacres, rape, and summary executions. On the 14th of May, 1948, the State of Israel was declared. Hours later, the British mandate officially came to an end, and Britain abandoned the Palestinians to their fate. Only then did the neighboring Arab states intervene. The initial Arab invasion force totaled around 20 to 25,000 troops against approximately 35 to 40,000 Zionist fighters. Only Jordan's Arab Legion and the Zionist forces had benefited from extensive British military training and funding. The other Arab armies lacked the training, the command structure, and operations coordination needed to be effective. But Jordan's King Abdullah was not fighting to save the Palestinians. Behind the backs of both the Palestinians and his Arab allies, he secretly negotiated with the Zionists over the partition of Palestine. 3 decades of British rule had produced a huge power imbalance. One side got a state in waiting, a centralized command, trained officers, functioning logistics, a modern army. The other was denied everything it needed to defend itself. By the time the war started, the outcome, thanks to the British, was predetermined.
Thanks for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you would like to see more content like this.